Hey guys, I'm back from my summer break and we're going to be kicking off the next year of videos with boxes on the CNC. Now, you've done boxes before, but not this way. The boxes that you've seen before, I don't like. I think they're weird. They have this weird Mickey Mouse corners in the edges and they don't look professional to me. Fine if you're using them for drawers, but not great if you're using them for a box for a finished piece. So I'm going to show you using my Next Wave Shark CNC along with a Vectric's chamfer tool inside of VCarve Pro and a 1-inch 90-degree V bit. Let's do it.
This project came about as an old high school friend reached out to me. Unfortunately, his mom has recently passed away, and they wanted to have 4 boxes made for them that would hold the ashes amongst the 4 kids. So he reached out to me asking me to create it, and he also wanted the box to have a cardinal engraved and filled with red epoxy in it as well.
For the funeral boxes, I was given a specific size of what each box needs to be, but I'm going to go ahead and just create my design here. Now, one of the things that they wanted specifically was they wanted that cardinal design up on the top for their mother. So we'll go ahead and put that in using epoxy. And then to close the box, instead of having a lid or anything like that, because this is going to be stationary and not really moving all that much, and it needs to be hold the ashes, what we're going to do is we're going to create a pocket here at the bottom. And that is where a piece of wood is going to slide in and out, and that's going to cause the sealing of the bottom of the box. And then what they can do is put in just a final nail in the box when they're done, and what that will do is just seal that bottom for them. So let's go ahead and get this into Vectric and we'll get this designed.
Okay, so we're inside of Vectric. Now I want to show you what we're going to be doing, which is a little bit different than what you would normally do to create a box inside of Vectric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the square for the side that I created. I'm going to come over here and we're going to go ahead and select the chamfer tool. Now, what I've done is I've created a separate tool inside of Vectric for the new bit that I'm using. It's a 1-inch diameter V90 bit. And why I'm using that is because my material is 1/2 inch thick. So I want a perfect 45-degree angle that will go down that 90-degree bit. So I'm using a 1-inch bit, so half of that is 1/2 inch for the 1/2 inch material, and then that 90-degree, half of that is 45 degrees, which creates that angle. So what I'll do is I'll select the chamfer bit. I'm going to go ahead and select the bit I've created. I'll select the depth, so my cut depth is 0.05. I'm going to be working on the outside of the material because I don't want that to be on the outside. Now, because of that, I need to make sure that I'm aware of that extra 1/4 inch on each side. So this original box that I created is a 1/4 inch in size smaller, because you can see that arrow, the cut line is going to be right here at the end of the arrow. And I'll show you that in just a sec. So what we'll do is we'll calculate that. It's going to warn me it's going to cut through because it's going all the way. And when I do that, voila, you can see that there's that 1/4 inch I was talking about, and then there's the line for where it's going to end up cutting. But now I've created a perfect mitered corner all the way around the box. Now for this design, I need to cut off the bottom because of the size I want. So let's just say that's where my cutoff line is. And here is where we're going to have, we're going to move that down a little bit to right there. Now if this was my final file, I would have this designed the way, or measured exactly. But for this representation, I wanted to just show you how it works. So first, I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to do a profile cut. And we're going to go all the way down on this, and that's going to cut off the bottom since I just want a flat bottom. And so I can see that cuts off there. Perfect. Now for my my little 1/4 inch bottom slider that I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and select this guy. I'm going to come over here. Again, I'm going to select a profile path. And this time I'm only going to go in a 1/4 inch. Calculate and preview all toolpaths. Okay. So now, if you can imagine, this is where the line cutoff is the bottom of the box. And then I've got this 1/4 inch slide that then the bottom seal, or the bottom box cover, is going to slide into. So I'll have a perfect side here that I just need to make or cut out twice for this diameter. For the rectangle, the sides will be a little thinner. So 2 of those, I'll repeat this, and then the top is just going to be the perfect mitered corner there all the way around. So let's go ahead and cut this all out on the CNC. Now that we're back in the shop, we're going to go ahead and start by cutting down our material. So I have my 1/2-inch cherry here that I'm going to be cutting out using the miter saw. I'll go ahead and get that down to the right size and then bring it over to the CNC, putting it on the CNC using some double-sided tape and clamps on the corners. Once I've zeroed out my bit and got it ready to go, I'll go ahead and start up the CNC. First, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the bottom section and then that pocket for the piece to slide in and out of. Once that first bit is done, I'll change out to the V90 bit and I'll go ahead and run the chamfer tool around the edges of the entire box. Once they're done, I'll go ahead and punch them out and then bring it over to sanding, which means it's time for this week's
Sanding Thoughts with Dovey Woodcraft.
A little history about cremation. Cremation started in the Middle East and Europe around 3000 BC during the Stone Age. However, over time, cremation practices spread and evolved by cultural and religious beliefs and even societal shifts. It wasn't until the late 1800s when an Italian scientist founded the Cremation Society of England after creating the cremation chamber that we still use to this day. Today, cremation has continued to be on the rise, and at this point is the preferred and acceptable practice across the world, and is the most popular choice for body disposal across the globe today.
This week's project is sponsored by Zahyox tools. Now, I have to say thank you guys so much for sending these CNC bits for me to test out and use. As you guys know, I'm very picky on what CNC bits I use on my CNC. Zahyox reached out to me and I wanted to give them a try for my international users. So for those who watch my channel but can't get the bits that I normally recommend, Zahyox is a great alternative to those bits. They ship on Amazon and are available globally, so you can get them and test them out. They're inexpensive, they last a good amount of time, and most importantly, they cut really well. I have been very impressed. I've been testing out their 1/8-inch bit, the down cut 1/8-inch bit, the down cut 1/4-inch bit, and then the V60 and V90 bits. They've been doing a great job. The coating on it lasts about standard for what I would expect from this quality of a bit, and overall, they cut and they last well. So if you're looking for a bit that you can get internationally, I would recommend Zahyox tools. That is on the screen, Zahyox tools. They're built to last and they are available on Amazon. Now back to the project.
I'll finish sanding just by running a file through that pocket just to make sure it's nice and smooth so that the slide can go back and in easily. Now I'm going to use the blue tape method to put the box together. That's just putting blue tape on each of the joints so that they fold easily over and will hold while the glue sets. So once I've got all the tape on all the joints, I'll run a bead of wood glue along all of the joints, and then I'm going to hold it together with a box clamp. While the box frame is gluing up, I'll go ahead back over to the CNC and use a V60 bit to carve out that cardinal on the top of the box. No need to go too deep with this carve, it's just going to go down 1/4 of an inch just at the max depth, and then I'll mix up some red epoxy for the cardinal. I'll go ahead and put that in, making sure I get every gap filled, and then I'll blow it with a torch just to pop any bubbles. The epoxy will cure for 24 hours, and once that's good and hard, I'll go ahead and sand it down to just the surface level using the orbital sander. Next, I'll glue the top of the box to the frame. I'm going to go ahead and use some dabs of CA glue in the corners just to hold it, clamping force, while the wood glue dries in place. Now, due to some imperfections in the wood and just wood movement after it's cut out and everything, there are a few tiny gaps in between the corners. I want to fill those, so I'm going to use the sawdust method here. And what I'm doing is I'm taking my orbital sander and just sanding on a piece of that same cherry, and my exhaust port is going into a bag. I'll then collect that dust, throw some wood glue on it, and then mix that into a paste that I can then glue the corners all together to fill those gaps. Since I'm not staining these, it will dry the same color as the wood, so I'm not, once the finish is put on it, so I'm not worried about the different color or not being able to stain it. Now, if you were staining this, you would not be able to do it, as the stain would not take to this section that the wood glue touches. I'll also clean up the excess here with a wet
cloth. Once it's dry, I will go ahead and sand it all down and smooth to that final 220 grit. Then I'm going to blow it off with some air so it's ready for finish. To seal and protect these boxes, I will give them multiple coats of a spray lacquer satin finish. The first 4 boxes got shipped out to the client who is going to be using them at their family funeral this week. Thank you guys so much for your trust and honor in creating these for you. But here is my next wave box that I created for this project as well. It's great. I really like this. I love that you can do the mitered corners. It makes it look like a professional box. And the way I did it with the closing, with the sliding drawer, I think is really fun because it hides it and it just looks like a nice display piece that you can have up on a counter or in something and then be able to still easily access that box and the contents inside. Can't wait to see you guys again next week. Remember, I'm going to be creating new project videos every 2 weeks for the next year, so make sure you're subscribed and follow along, and I'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye-bye.